So today I'm going to do a little video of me cutting in this panel, just show you guys how I do it. It's going to be a long one, but if you're interested, you'll watch. If not, you'll scroll on by. But yeah, so I'm just going to go through the process. I'll talk a little bit as I do and try and explain it. Sorry the camera's so close. I don't have a lot of space right here, but it's a very simple panel. There's only 5 circuits in it. I don't have the feeder in yet. But that's fine, it's pretty simple. Nor do I have the grounding electrode in, which is the other conduit here. But I'm gonna lay in the branch circuits, and then you guys can watch and take away or don't. So obviously with this being MC cable, first thing we're gonna do is separate all of these conductors so they're twisted together. And so now I have all the conductors out here. They're all separated. So what I'll do next is I'll straighten them. Just take my screwdriver, lay the conductor against the hilt of the handle right there, and then I'll just run them up and down. Kind of, the big thing too is to make sure that you do it on multiple sides, because this conductor is bent on multiple planes. So you don't want to just run it straight up and down, because it may be bent in the opposite direction, and straightening it one way may not do you much good. Sometimes what I'll do is I will put a hook in it and wrap my finger around that in that hook like that to keep downward pressure while I straighten them. Cool. So now we have everything all straightened out. Now it's time to get started on our terminations. So I'm always going to do my equipment grounding conductors first, and then I will do my ungrounded and grounded conductors after that. So we'll kind of separate everything out here. We'll get ungrounded and grounded to the side. A lot of times on a residential build, I will, put something up here to hang these wires to the side. That way they're not sitting here in my face. But like I said, this is a small panel. I'm not going to take the time to do that. It's not worth it for just a couple of circuits, But once again, just trying to just get them out of the way without bending them too much. I just want to kind of lay them over here out of my way. Do the same thing with these conductors here. Let's see here. So I'll just take this, just lay it out of the way. Need all that. Okay. And this last circuit will get it laid out of the way. Okay, so now we're down to just equipment grounding conductors, and they're all just sitting here. Now, something I prefer to do, even in a big panel, is I like to land all of my equipment grounding conductors on one side of the panel. It just, I don't know, I like the way it looks, but that's just my personal opinion. Now, another thing that I want to note is that when I land my equipment grounding conductors, I am always going to work from the top down. So I'm going to start at the top of my bar and then work down, so that the final conductor I lay kind of lays all the way over top of all of them. And then the other thing that I want to mention is the first conductors I'm going to land are going to be the ones that are furthest away from the ground bar. So this guy's going to be number 1. There's number 2. These 2 guys here are going to go next, and then this number 10 right here will be last. That'll be the one that I lay on top. So we'll start with this guy, like I said, and all I'm going to do is try not to bend it too much, but I am going to put that guy back there in the back of the panel like that, kind of get it formatted how I want it to look, and then figure out where it needs to make its bend down. So you can kind of see how that's going to be. So I put that nice little bend in it there, and my next one will kind of follow a similar pattern. Then I get it going across straight, and then I make my 90-degree bend down. I'm going to bend this guy like this, where it needs to be 90'd over to the terminal. I'm gonna mark where I want to cut it. Get my cutters out, my strippers, and cut it. Now this is an important part because if I just leave it like that and I just land it, it's gonna push that out of there. So I want to grab it and turn it like I just did there, so that now as it goes over, it goes straight into the lug. And I may have to take one more measurement here. No, I think that's gonna be perfect. Now I'll strip it. It's something I also see a lot of guys do. There's no need to strip off like freaking an inch of conductor, you know? Just strip off. The terminal only takes about maybe a 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch, something like that. And then you're good. And you'll notice I'm not torquing these. I will torque them at the end. I'm just gonna get it to where the lug holds the wire. So it's just held there in that spot. And when I get done towards the end, I'll go with my torque screwdriver and I'll torque all of these. So we're gonna move on to this guy here next. And like I said, I know this is gonna be a long video, but I know that if someone would put out, like for example, if Luminati put out a video like this, complete panel installation, if it was 6 hours long, I would watch the whole thing. So that's why I'm just taking the time to do it, because there's, like I said, I'm not phenomenal at this, but there's guys out there that are, not as good at it as I am, that would like to be better, that could take some tips and tricks from this. So it's worth it to me to take the time and put it into, showing the whole process. Make one bend. I'm gonna cut that a bit long just because I wasn't real confident about where it was gonna land. Oh, dropping pliers. I wasn't real confident about where it was gonna end up. So now I'll take it and set it in here. Let's see here, make sure we get it all lined up. Set it in here and see. Yeah, see, that's gonna be too high. So I'm gonna take and stretch that bend over a little bit. Okay. So let's see there. So that is gonna be more on the money. Okay, so if I look at that, I'll cut that right in there. Just place my thumb at the edge of the lug and cut it there. Like I said, just strip off 1/4 of an inch or so. And then terminate it. Make sure everything looks nice before we tighten that screw. Okay, so that, we can shape it a little bit now that we have it terminated. It'll shape some. Okay, that left side's done. I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm happy with how it looks right now, so then I'm gonna take these two number 12s here, terminate them, and I'll leave the number 10 to the side. And a lot of times when I have conductors that are in the same connector like this, I will shape them together instead of doing them one at a time, because I can take these two here and shape them at the same time and get basically the same result out of both of them. And if they're both number 12s, as these are, what I'll do a lot of times too, they'll terminate them together, because these ground bars are listed for most of the time 2 12s, 2 14s, 2 10s. Most of the time, you got to check the panel and make sure, but most of the time they are. Okay, so once again, I cut those long because I want to look at it and then see. And honestly, that one I'm pretty happy with. I like how that's going to end up. Okay, so I'm going to cut those right at that bend right there. Okay, let's see, it's going to be right there. Take these two. strip them out just like 1/4 inch or so. Okay. And then we will terminate them both in the same lug. That way we keep that same measurement. I didn't even have to get different bends in them. They just bent together. And then we're gonna hold that right there and get this lug snug where it will hold the conductors. Okay. Snug. Now we can kind of manipulate these a little bit more. I hate whenever something just like determined to stay in one spot. See, with zip ties, you can prevent a lot of this moving around, if you will, of the conductors. Okay. All right. Pretty happy with how that turned out. Now we just have one more equipment grounding conductor to land, this last number 10 here, and it'll go right on top. And I don't want to, when I bend this towards the back, I don't want to really bend it all the way to the place where I bent those other two there, because if I do, or if I bend it past that, it's going to push into them and it's going to distort them. So I almost want to bend it just a little bit shy, like right in there. It's not even, like when I push it back, it barely touches them, because I don't want it to affect their bend. Okay, so we have that one bent. Let's cut it long and see how we feel about it. And might I add, this, for me anyways, is a much slower way of doing it. I can terminate this panel and still look pretty good at a much faster speed, but I'm also talking you guys through it. So see that right there, if you look, see where that wire is above that lug? That's too high. So I need to bend this 90 out and try and bend it down a little bit more. Let's see how that looks. I'm gonna try and bend this little bit of excess wire over so that it's not snagging on the edge of the panel when I'm trying to lay it back there. Yes, so that right there I like. It's sitting right on the lug. That's gonna make for a nice termination. Let's see if we can bend this over a bit. Okay, right in there. Get my finger marked on it. I'll now cut that, strip it, and lay it in there, and it'll look nice. Okay. There. See, the lug has kind of touched the wire, so I'm going to leave that alone and try and bend this over a little bit so it's a bit straighter. Okay, that needs to go up a bit too. Okay. There we are. Okay. Not too bad looking, not perfect, but not too bad looking. Like I said, a zip tie on here and it would have them all perfectly together, but I'm not gonna use one. Mainly just because I don't feel like walking out of the truck and getting one. And I don't think it's gonna make it a worse product for not doing it. So, okay, so now we have our ungrounded and our grounded conductors. Every circuit in this panel is gonna be a GFCI circuit, so all the neutral conductors are gonna terminate on the breakers. So I will, you know, laying them on the breaker, pigtail goes on the neutral bar. I don't know why they sent me all breakers with pigtails, but they did. Instead of plug-on neutrals, you can see the plug-on neutral bar here in this Siemens panel. That if you use the plug-on neutral breakers, you don't have to have the pigtail. It directly connects the breaker to the neutral bus without the pigtail. But yeah, so I'm gonna grab my breakers now and we'll get started on terminating the circuits. Okay, so I have all of my GFCI breakers. And this is going to be similar, very similar process. I'm going to start at the top and work my way down. And I'm going to start with the circuits that are closest to the center of the panel, so they're the furthest away from the breakers. That's the way my mind works anyways. They're going to be the longest lengths of wire up in this area. I'll do them first, and then I'll do the ones that are closest to the edges of the panel on the breakers that are closer to the bottom. So up here at the top, I have a 12-2 there. That's a single pole 20. And that's going to be for my washing machine. Toss that over there. I hate pigtails so much. They're kind of a pain in the butt to make look decent, but that's okay. We're gonna give our best effort. Let's see here if we can, might even use a pair of pliers, try and disturb this coil as little as possible. Okay. Let's see if we can maybe get it to, so let's go there, land these right in here. Okay. So let's see what we got to do to make this look decent. Okay. I'll just uncoil it a bit there. Let's see. Okay. I think we can work with that. Get that just snug. Okay. And then we will roll this coil out a bit so that it looks halfway decent. Okay. There's that one. That's her there. Alright, now we have our actual circuits we need to land. So we're going to start with this one, then we'll do that one. If you look here, the neutral is on top, so that is actually the first conductor we'll land because we're working our way top down. And what you're going to notice here is that I'm not going to push this conductors all the way to the back of the corner of the panel because that's not where my lug is. My lug is more towards the middle. So I'm going to come over here like this, just make a nice little bend over to the edge of the panel. I want to put a little bend up here first, just below the connector. And then I will bend it not quite to the edge of the panel, just where it's barely hanging off of it. So I don't want the edge of the panel to influence, and I'm going to look at this lug. I know it's kind of funny, but I'm going to look at it eye level. That way I can see that the conductor is definitely straight on it. I haven't gotten past having to do that yet. I just always do it. That way I know that they're straight, or as straight as I can get them anyway. Siemens breakers are neat because you see this little yellow tab in here? When you insert the conductor, you'll see, watch. Oh, goes away. It lets you know that you have inserted it fully versus it not being all the way in the lug. Okay, that one's snug. Okay, so that guy right there is going to kind of be my line for me to follow. That conductor is relatively straight. I'm sure it's not perfect, but relatively straight. So follow the same kind of course with this ungrounded conductor. It's going to come down right in there. I'll bend it over. Yep. I just kind of hold my finger at the edge of the lug over the breaker, and that's where it gets cut. Not some real exact science to it. Okay. Let's get that snugged up. Okay, so that circuit's in there. And now we'll do the dryer. So that is actually ungrounded, then neutral, and then the other ungrounded. So we'll do hot, neutral, hot. We'll just follow the same kind of path as the other ones there. I don't like how I did that. Okay. Alright, so that's coming down. And I may let that approach this way a little bit so that the other conductors can fall behind it some, because you can't really, like, especially if you have a lot of circuits, you can't really lay them all on one flat line because there's not enough space there. You almost have to imagine that you have a section of, you know, maybe a half to an inch, and you just kind of keep layering them in that section. So you would maybe do 3 or 4 conductors, and then, you know, and they would stagger side to side, and then do 3 or 4 on top of that and layer them on top. Instead of trying to stack them all on top of each other. You can't stack one and then the other and then the other. There's honestly not enough room in the panel, especially if it's a very big panel. So you gotta keep that in mind, that there's only so much space. So you have to accommodate for that and make sure you layer them appropriately. That may not make sense, but it makes sense in my head. Just don't really know how to say it. Okay, I'm gonna cut that right there. If this does well with everybody, then I'm gonna cut that down a little bit. You can see when I put it in there, so it's kind of sticking too far that way. I want it to come in just a hair, so I'm gonna cut very little off of it. Like you can, if you can see there, like that might be 1/8 of an inch. Okay, see, I'm much happier with that. It forms to that red a bit better. Okay, nice and snug. I've seen Rudy, Right Wire, do it where he okay, yeah, that's better. He actually will use a screwdriver to form them at the top of the panel, which seems like a good tactic. I've never really tried it. I have used one before to, oh man, this guy here is going to be a pain in the neck to make it look decent. I have used it before to bend them at the breaker, never to bend them at the top of the panel. It's just one of those things, like once you do something for long enough a certain way, it's like keep doing what works. Okay, that guy there, I want to be just like that. Okay, cut it and see if it's a little bit long. I'd rather be a little long than too short, because let's see. I think I cut too much off of that one, but it's okay. We can kind of fudge it just so it looks decent. And now that side's done. It's not perfect, but it sure is not bad. You know what I mean? It's not a bad job. It's just not a perfect job. But yeah, so I'll come back and torque all that in a minute. And like I say, a zip tie up here probably make it look a little bit nicer, but I think it looks pretty good how it is. So now we'll work on this side, and we'll do these two 20 amp circuits on the left first, and then we'll do our 30 amp circuit. So over here our neutral's on the bottom, so we're going to land ungrounded conductors first, and then our grounded conductors. This is the real trick, is can you make it look the same on this side as you did on that side? See how that? Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Well, say that. This guy right here is probably bent. It might be better to do that. Yeah. Like that. Okay. Okay. These first couple conductors are the toughest ones, because they're going to set the pattern for the rest of them. Okay, let's fit that in there. Let's see how we like it. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. Kind of get that formed up a little bit. Let's get it snug. Okay, nice and cozy. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this guy over here. It's not too dissimilar from its partner on the opposite side of the panel. And now we will work on bending our neutral for that circuit. Okay. So, 90's bent a little bit too long. Okay. I like to imagine like terminating a panel almost like you're bending pipe. I don't know if that makes sense, but like You just kind of map it out in your head and then you bend it, you know. Okay, let's cut that. Rather be a bit long. Let's see how it turns out. Because the neutral and the hot terminals on these breakers are offset from each other. So you can't cut them the same length because one is closer to the side of the panel than the other is. So you'll end up with different distances from the edge of the panel for your bends over here versus like that right there. That turned out pretty good. But this neutral is actually shorter than that hot is in relation to the side of the panel because the neutral lug is closer. Okay, so now we have this guy here. And that's something you'll notice about a lot of guys who do a really nice panel is up in here. Don't bend that straight to the side. Put yourself something right there because that's going to allow you to maneuver this conductor left and right to get this 90 right here in a good place where it's symmetrical. You can always kind of push it this way and that way. That's why I feel like a lot of those guys do that. They'll go this way and then they'll bend back because it allows them to flex this bend a little bit. This bend doesn't affect the aesthetic of the panel nearly as much as this one right here does. So if you need to get this one right, then you just apply a little bit of wire to this bend here or take some from it. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Now we just have our 30 amp single pole and the neutral's on the bottom, so we'll do the ungrounded conductor first, then we'll go to the grounded conductor. I know I'm saying grounded conductor, ungrounded conductor a lot. If you're not familiar, you can find that information in your code book, by the way, but the neutral is the grounded conductor, but you know, in a grounded system, the neutral is the neutral. But it's also the grounded conductor because it is the conductor that we connect to our grounding electrode, and also that our utility system connects to the grounding electrode or to their grounding system throughout, you know, all the poles and stuff. So it's called the grounded conductor, but it's commonly referred to as the neutral. It's usually white or gray, but it is not. This is the equipment grounding conductor. The green is. This is the grounded conductor, and the terminology is not used as often as it should be, because it's the proper terminology. But a lot of people just say ground, neutral, and then whenever I say grounded conductor, a lot of guys might be thinking like, that's the grounded conductor. No, it's not. That's the equipment grounded conductor. It's a bond conductor that connects all of our metal parts so that we can clear a fault. If there is one, we can clear it quickly without there being any harm to equipment or peoples. But there's a little code lesson for you, I guess. That 90 needs to be brought down just a hair. Okay, so now we have basically everything terminated, and this is all of my branch circuits, and then I'll still bring the feeder and the grounding electrode in, but yeah, that's kind of what it looks like whenever I cut in a panel. And I know this is a small panel, but take a big panel and do this more times. That's all there is to it. It's not necessarily any more complicated. The zip ties do help in a bigger panel because it kind of can keep everything organized a bit better, but this is what it looks like. I hope you guys enjoyed.